Hi everyone, there are different ways to set a record and leave your mark in the Guinness World Record book. Some put all their effort into it, and some just set records unwittingly. In any case, when the new record appears, it instantly makes the headlines. In today's video, we'll tell you about the most incredible records from all corners of the world. They're so amazing you could hardly believe someone actually set them. Let's get it on. Fearless slackliners. Slacklining is an art of walking or balancing along a suspended length of flat webbing, and as in any form of physical activity, records have been set here as well. 3 professional slackliners, Pablo Signoret, Raphael Briddy, and Guillaume Coury, decided to set a record walking a 200-meter high line between 2 ice falls in the French Alps at a height of 3 kilometers above sea level.
No shake. Next step. Jusqu'au bout, tranquille.
It sounds very scary and very dangerous, but the coolest thing about it is that the slackliners actually made it. Aside from maintaining their balance at an incredible height, they also had to deal with a lack of oxygen, strong winds, and cold weather. Mountains are not the most welcoming place for such tricks after all, but they did it. As they later said, the most difficult thing was to get to the place where they were going to set the record. The guys had to walk more than 5 days to reach the spot. A mantle of bees. Any man who's ever encountered bees wants to steer pretty clear of them. They sting, you know, and it hurts like hell. However, a fearless Chinese man named Ruan Liang Ming made a world record out of his relationship with these insects. During one of the episodes of the Italian Guinness World Records show, he covered his entire body with bees, and yes, they were still alive. The brave man almost completely disappeared under the mantle of insects in an attempt to create the longest bee beard. This weird hobby became popular back in the 19th century. Competitors placed the queen bee on their bodies, after which thousands of bees flocked to them. Ruan successfully set a record for the heaviest mantle of bees, which weighed a daunting 63.7 kilograms and consisted of approximately 637,000 individual insects, including 60 queens. He explains the secret behind his success. The challenger must keep calm when dealing with bees. Bees will die once they sting you, so they usually avoid stinging unless they think you're threatening them. Cliff diving. Have you ever heard of cliff diving? This is a special kind of diving which literally takes your breath away. All you need is a high cliff, a deep enough pool, and a daring man to make a jump. Cliff diving originated in Hawaii. This country has cliffs, which seem to have been designed for diving into the water. This activity was invented many years ago by the locals. They tested their will and bravery in this way, because not everyone would dare jump off a cliff. Today, cliff diving is a popular extreme sport in many corners of the world, but it's still hard to believe someone would be brave enough to do it. For example, one daredevil set a world record after leaping almost 60 meters from a cliff and into a tiny pool of water. The jump lasted less than 4 seconds, and the man reached a speed of 123 kilometers per hour before touching the water. It's not surprising that he needed some time to recover after the jump. Because of the high altitude, his body experienced great stress when landing into the water. In addition, it is very important to enter the water completely vertical to avoid grave injuries. A string and needles. Juan Fucan's record is amazing, not only in terms of speed, but also in terms of ingenuity. Indeed, who would think of threading a needle without using one's eyes or arms? This Chinese man arranged the needles on a wooden plank about a meter long. It looked something like a long comb with needles instead of teeth. All the needles were positioned on the same level, each approximately 1 centimeter away from each other. And then something incredible happened, because Juan put a red thread in his mouth and threaded 44 needles in a minute without even looking at them.
It's a new Guinness World Records.
with his mouth. We have no idea how he came up with this idea. Paraglide flips. If you think that a paraglider is not the best aircraft for tricks, think again, because Horatio Lorenz can certainly change your mind. In 2002, this amazing man did 568 tumbles during one jump. Tumbling earned the right to be considered the most difficult of all maneuvers because the pilot goes over the vertical line of the paraglide sail in consecutive loops. We don't know how he avoids tangling, but one thing is certain: Horatio Lorenz is a true professional. Amazing drift. A driving instructor called Johann Schwartz set a world record for a continuous drift. Yes, such records do exist, but what Johann accomplished simply defies comprehension. He drifted in a BMW M5 in a circle for 8 hours straight. 8 hours. To set the record, BMW came up with a custom fuel system capable of refueling the car mid-drift. A second BMW M5 with an additional fuel tank had to start drifting together with Schwartz. The stuntman suspended himself out of the rear passenger window in order to connect and hold the fuel line to the filler. Though it looks like a scene from The Fast and the Furious, this is a real video shot for the Guinness Book of Records. The refueling was done 5 times in 8 hours, and Schwartz drifted roughly 374 kilometers, which is 210 kilometers more than the previous record. No one refueled the car of the previous record holder though. Instead, an additional tank was installed on the car. Skydiving without a parachute. You will not impress anyone with skydiving today. Yes, it is an extreme sport. Not everyone has the courage to do it, but in general it is quite common. But imagine jumping without a parachute from a great height out of a plane. Quite a different story. An American skydiver, Luke Akins, was the first man to jump from a height of 7,620 meters out of a plane without a parachute. He didn't use a parachute at all, and after about 2 minutes of freefall, he successfully landed in a 30 by 30 meter net, as if the jump wasn't dangerous enough already.
The crowd on the ground looking up, they have a visual on him right now.
Luke needed to do precise calculations in order to land in the right spot. The historic jump happened in Simi Valley, California. By the way, Luke is a professional skydiver and stuntman who coached many skydivers and also performed stunts in Iron Man 3. In order not to lose a valuable employee, the Screen Actors Guild intervened in the final weeks of preparations by insisting he wear a parachute for the stunt as a precaution in case something goes wrong. But Luke refused because the parachute would greatly increase his mass and therefore could ruin the entire jump. It took Akins 2 years to prepare for this daring trick, all for 2.5 minutes of freefall. To film this incredible jump, 3 more skydivers jumped together with Luke. One of them was shooting a video, the other left a smoke trail for the observers on the ground, and the third removed his oxygen tank. Then all 3 deployed their parachutes as Akins continued plummeting towards the ground. During the freefall, the stuntmen reached a speed of 193 kilometers per hour and successfully landed straight into the net. World record freefall. What is the top speed of a man during a freefall? Australian skydiver Felix Baumgartner became the first man in history to break the sound barrier outside of a vehicle. He also set a world record for a freefall height, jumping from a height of 39 kilometers and safely landing in the desert of New Mexico. His top speed during the fall was 1,342 kilometers per hour. That is, it exceeded the speed of sound. Just imagine how fast he was falling. During his 10-minute descent to Earth, Felix had 5 minutes of freefall, and at a height of 1.5 kilometers above the Earth, he deployed the parachute. By the way, the helium balloon and suit were custom made by engineers specially for Baumgartner. The members of his team insisted that Baumgartner was setting this record not for the sake of fame, but for a serious scientific purpose. They believe that the success of the project will result in the creation of new emergency evacuation systems for high-speed jets. The longest breath hold ever. An ordinary person can survive from 1 to 5 minutes without oxygen, a trained professional up to 9 minutes. That's because our bodies can't work without oxygen, and this is hard to overcome. However, Alex Segura, a freediver from Spain, challenged the limits of the human body. On February 28, 2016, he set a world record by holding his breath underwater for 24 minutes and 3 seconds. He developed a special skill called static apnea. That is, he completely stopped any breathing. However, he wouldn't be able to spend this much time underwater without a previous pure oxygen breathe-up. This is allowed by the rules, so Alex Segura was not cheating. In 2018, his record was broken by a Croatian diver, Budimir Sobat, who held his breath for 24 minutes and 11 seconds. 110 rope skips. Rope skipping is perhaps one of the most common and classic records, because anyone can set them. Well, you would have to train hard, of course. A Chinese schoolgirl, Wang Shuqin, for example, skipped over 110 ropes at once. Standing either side of Wang in 2 large semicircles, 110 of her schoolmates swung the ropes, making sure they all moved together so as to not trip their friend up, and then Wang began to jump. That's how she set a new incredible world record, skipping over 110 ropes 112 times. Amazing. Can English walnuts help you get into the Book of Records? Easily, especially if you break them with any part of your body. For example, with your head. So, a resident of India, Naveen Kumar, broke the world record for cracking nuts with his head. In exactly 1 minute, the man smashed 217 walnuts with his forehead, and thereby entered his name into the Guinness Book of Records. Of course, the whole process was filmed on camera, and now everyone can make sure that the champion's forehead is really solid. Like a hammer, he's able to split hundreds of nuts one by one, although nobody knows for how long Naveen tried to achieve this result, and whether his workouts caused him any injuries. In the end, hitting your head all the time can be hardly considered that healthy. However, after the record was set, the man was still on his feet. If you have a banana close to you, try breaking it in half right now. If the banana's fresh, it's not that easy to do it. These fruits are quite soft. The rind is torn, the pulp is squeezed out. Overall, it's a good object to set an unusual record. Apparently, that is why the Swede Michael Otterson chose bananas. November 24th, 2001, he snapped 70 bananas in half in a minute. He didn't even break them, but literally just split them in 2. It happened on the set of the Guinness World Records show in Stockholm, Sweden. And although the bananas could have probably been put to better use, the record still turned out to be very impressive.
Just look at him go! Have you ever seen someone make light work of yellow fruit? He's snapping them cleanly in 2. Snap! The audience are going bananas! What a fruit frenzy! We're nearly there! 3, 2, 1! Stop the clock!
Well, let's hope that after the completion of the filming, the fruits were eaten. Some Guinness records belong to animals, mostly because of their size. The biggest dog, the smallest pig, and so on. But among these records, there's a rather unusual one, and it belongs to the loudest cat. Meet Merlin. He lives in Torquay in the UK, along with his owner, Tracy Westwood, and he looks like the most ordinary cat. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of similar felines in the world, but only Merlin has a really loud purr. Yes, we're not talking about meowing, but about the purr, the very pleasant sound of a happy cat, similar to a vibration. The normal volume for cats is 25 decibels, but Merlin's capable of purring at 67.8 decibels. This is like a feline vacuum cleaner. Besides, Tracy, the owner of the cat, is actually a fortune teller, and she claims that she simply bewitched her pet. Otherwise, explaining these loud sounds is simply impossible. But how did she do it? Well, wizards work in mysterious ways.
Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and you will be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.